Morning, everyone. I'm Danielle Alexander. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Savannah, working to build a diverse cultural, multicultural, and beloved community. We celebrate the presence and participation of LGBTQIA+ and straight people of all genders, races, abilities, ethnic, and national origins. We welcome you on Zoom and on site, whoever you know yourself to be, and wherever you are in your journey. If you're visiting with us and you'd like to introduce yourself, please rise or raise your hand. The usher will bring a microphone. If you're newly joining us on Zoom, please use the chat to say hi, and I'll share with the congregation. Are there any visitors on this side, over here?
Good morning. I'm Lisa's mother,
and I'm her sister, Kat.
Welcome. Any other visitors on this side? Okay, visitors on this side? No visitors this side? We're so glad to have you, everyone. Please join us in the social hall for refreshments after the service. You'll find the social hall in the next building that way by following the crowd through this door right here or the main doors, or just ask the ushers. There are 2 cards in the back of the pew in front of you to help us gather information for the good of the community. Use the Rainbow Chalice card, either the QR code or the space provided, to write your contact information, to sign up for our newsletter, and to receive a welcome letter from our minister. Zoom visitors may contact our administrator via the email address in the chat, and that is admin@uusavannah.org. To share a joy or sorrow, please use the card with the red heart and chalice. Zoom participants may type joys and sorrows in the chat, and we will read them aloud in the service if you wish. If you fill out either of these cards, please put it in the collection plate a little later this morning. Church announcements are emailed to members and friends on Tuesdays and Friday. Please check your email for complete details about the following. First, we have our first music mix concert of the season, Acoustic Office with Ricardo Ochoa, on Sunday, October 22nd, next Sunday. Tickets are available through Eventbrite, and you can see the October newsletter for details. Second, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America will hold their monthly meeting in Ron Hall on Monday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. and will show a video on our Be Smart program. We invite adult members of the congregation who are interested to attend. Third, we welcome Megan Thurkins, our guest pianist this morning. Welcome, Megan. Now it's time to light our chalice, and our chalice lighting is special this morning. We have 2 chalice lighters, Joseph Bisserano and Susan Beversluis, and I invite them both to come forward. It's the cup of life. Why a flaming chalice? The question comes. It's the cup of life, we answer. A cup of blessings overflowing, a cup of water to quench our spirit's thirst, a cup of wine for celebration and dedication, the flame of truth, the fire of purification, oil for anointing, healing, out of chaos, fear, and horror. Thus was the symbol crafted a generation ago, so it may be for us in these days of uncertainty, sorrow, and rage, and a light to warm our souls and guide us home.
Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky. Will you please rise in body or in spirit for our hymn of the month, number 290, Bring, O Past Your Honor. Time now for our story. Anyone who would like to see the pictures may come forward. Our story this morning is called The Firekeeper's Son. We live in an important village, Sang-hee's father said. Sang-hee looked around. A few huts made of wood and mud, a few cows, a few chickens, a few dogs. It did not look like an important village. Our part of Korea is like a dragon with many humps, his father said. The humps are the mountains. The first hump facing the sea, the last hump facing the king's palace. Our mountain is the first hump. Our fire is the first fire. Every evening at sunset, Sang-hee's father climbed to the top of the mountain carrying a pair of tongs and a little brass pot filled with live coals to start a fire. A fire so big it could be seen from the next mountain. where another fire keeper saw it and lit his fire, a fire big enough to be seen from the next mountain, where a third fire keeper sat and lit his fire, and on and on. A fire on every hump of the dragon's back, all the way to the last one, the hump that could be seen from the palace walls. When the king saw the fire on the last mountain, he knew that all was well in his land. When trouble comes to our land, it almost always comes from the sea, Sanghe's father explained. If we ever see enemy ships, I will not light our fire, and the next fire keeper will not light his fire, and on until the king sees only darkness on the last hump. He will know that trouble has come to our land, and he will send soldiers to fight the enemy. We are fortunate, Sanghe's father said. In your time and mine and your grandfather's time, the fire has always been lit. It is good to live in a time of peace. It is good that soldiers never come. Soldiers, tall, brave soldiers with shining swords, Sanghe wished he could see soldiers just once. Evening, Sanghe shooed the chickens into their coop. He glanced up at the mountain looking for the fire. No fire. His father was a little late. Sanghe fetched water from the river. He poured the water into the barrel, then glanced up at the mountain again. No fire. Sanghe looked out at the sea where the setting sun made a path on the water. Could those be ships bobbing on the waves? No, just a flock of seagulls. No enemies, no trouble, but still no fire. Sanghe called his mother. He pointed to the mountain. She looked, then turned and stared at the sea. Sanghe, you must run and see what has happened, she said. Something is wrong. There is no trouble from the sea, and the fire must be lit. Sanghe ran up the mountain path. He knew the path like a friend. But tonight it was not at all friendly. Stones tripped him, branches reached out to lash his face. He ran until he could not run anymore. A strange noise, a groaning sound, a groan from the bushes by the path. Father, Sanghe, I am all right, but I fell and hurt my ankle, and I fear it is broken. I cannot walk. You must light the fire. Hurry. Sanghe grabbed the brass pot and ran again. The fire, he had to light the fire. His feet pounded out a song on the path. Light the fire, light the fire, light the fire. At long last, Sanghe reached the top of the mountain. There was a brush pile ready to be lit. He knelt, trembling from his run. He picked up one coal with the tongs and dropped it. It broke into 100 red jewels that glowed for a moment, then died. A second coal, bright, gleaming bright as a soldier's sword. If there is no fire, the soldiers will come. They will be angry when they find no enemies here. But maybe not all of them will be angry. Maybe there is a soldier who would be glad for a chance to visit the sea. I could show him the beach, where to catch the best fish, where to find the prettiest shells. After that, he might teach me a little about sword fighting. Sanghe wished he could see soldiers just once. I could say I dropped the pot and spilled the coals, that it was an accident. While Sanghe thought, the second coal burned out. He looked into the brass pot, only one coal left. One coal glowing fiercely, almost as if it were talking, as if it were saying, light the fire, and time of peace in his father's voice. Sanghe carefully picked up the last coal and put it on the tinder at the bottom of the brush pile. It smoked and smoldered, and for a moment it looked as if it would go out. Then a tongue of flame licked the tinder. It ate all the tinder and reached greedily for the brush. Soon the whole pile was aflame. Sanghe watched the flames. He saw a great battle. Soldiers, their shining swords clashing. After the fire died out, saying he waited until the ashes cooled, then swept them aside. He built a new pile of brush for the next night, as his father had always done and his grandfather before him. Then saying he walked back down the path. His father was waiting. "Did it burn well, my son?" "Yes, Father." He put an arm around his father's waist. His father hobbled as they walked and leaned on Sang-hee's shoulder. "When I was a boy, I too wished the soldiers would come." Sang-hee drew a quick breath. How did his father know? "Do not forget, my son, that we are part of the king's guard, just as the soldiers are. We are the very first part." Sang-hee's father smiled. "The village will be pleased to hear that another trustworthy firekeeper has been born to our family." Suddenly, Sang-hee was so glad he had lit the fire. The gladness felt as warm as a glowing coal. Thank you for listening. We will sing you on your way.
It's now time for our invitation to generosity for our offering. Our words this morning are from Branduk L. Lovely. "Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream." We will now accept our offering. To donate via debit or credit card, please use the QR code on the back of the order of service or go to www.uusavannah.org and click the donate button. Mail checks are also welcome. Thank you for your generosity. We have a few joys and sorrows today. First, a concern from Steve Hutter, holding the people of Israel and Palestine in healing light, praying for a miracle that brings peace. We also have a sorrow. Dr. Joe Rice, long-term member of this congregation, passed away this week in Thomasville, where he has been supported by his nephew for the last several years. Joe was an MD and helped our team build out our trauma kit and was an expert on CPR, having staffed an ER. We helped Joe sell his modest residence to provide financial support. He was religious about meeting his annual pledge commitments. We also have a concern for all people living under armed conflict in the world today. Let us hold all our joys and sorrows, spoken and unspoken, in our hearts as we join together in the responsive reading found in your order of service. Sorrow is everywhere. Yet joy is we mourn. As we mourn together, so we celebrate together and offer thanks that we are not alone. So may it be now and in all the days to come.
Let us continue in a spirit of meditation. It has been written, we mortals stumble forward over uneven ground, carrying a gold vessel of sacred fire, each in constant peril of falling and spilling it. And it has been written, at times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. What does it mean to exist as a living carrier of burning energy that is at once sacred and powerless, always on the edge of spilling or dying altogether? Are we called to a lifetime of great caution, tentative motion, halting progression across life's uneven ground? More concerned with safeguarding the holy, flaming cargo entrusted to us at our birth than with fully inhabiting our place in the universe with purpose, creativity, curiosity, joy, and courageous risk? Could it be, rather, that our call is to spill our fire with abandon, trekking across uneven ground in our pursuit of justice, dancing across uneven ground in our delight at embodiment, tripping across uneven ground in our wholehearted exploration of creation? Could it be that the fire spilled from our gold vessel as we boldly and unreservedly live our lives is the fire that kindles the fire that has gone out in another's golden vessel? Are we carriers not just of our own portion of sacred fire, but one another's portion? Could it be that simple, that miraculous? Amen. Our first reading this morning comes from my colleague, the Reverend Lisa Friedman. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I've sung those words since I was a small child sitting in a chapel at the Unitarian Universalist congregation of my childhood. It was easy to sing, and we sang it with gusto, laughing as we used our hands to answer the question, hide it under a bushel? Oh no, I'm gonna let it shine. I've sung those words at General Assembly with 4,000 voices strong as the chalice, which travels from congregation to congregation between General Assemblies, was kindled. I've sung them around the family dinner table as we lit the flame in a tiny handcrafted chalice so small it could fit in the palm of your hand. What is this light of ours that we want to shine out into the world? What is the meaning of this fire nestled in a cup that we kindle together Sunday after Sunday? Just how did the chalice get its flame? Why does it still matter to us today? For many Unitarian Universalists, the chalice has become a living symbol of what our free faith is all about. And like most effective symbols, it has multiple meanings and many layers to the truths it seeks to illuminate. Yet it is also true that like most symbols, from time to time, there are shining moments when it has the power to bring us together across our differences, to inspire us, to remind us of why our religious lives and values matter. It would only be fair to recognize, however, that for some of us, there is a certain irony that a creedless faith that rejects dogma should have any kind of symbol at all. My colleague, David A. Johnson, observes that no single symbol has universal acceptance among us. For some, the cross remains the central symbol. For others, a grouping of world religious symbols centers worship, while for some, no symbol at all is acceptable. In recent years, the Flaming Chalice has become the most frequently used symbol. Its most common meaning today is the light of knowledge and the search for truth. In a creedless faith, it is appropriate that not all individuals and congregations embrace the chalice in their religious lives exactly the same way. Still, I do not see the chalice as a challenge to our religious freedom and spirit of inquiry. On the contrary, for me, the chalice burns as a concrete reminder that there are truths larger and more ancient than any creed or any one community could ever capture. So how did the flame get its chalice? There are several strands of history to explain how a flaming chalice became the symbol for two traditions which value freedom of conscience and love's call to all people. The Flaming Chalice brings together two ancient symbols, the cup and the flame. Whether we draw on the insight of feminist writer Riane Eisler, who sees the chalice as the symbol of the partnership way of being in community, or refer to the ancient cups and flagons that have been always found at religious altars and sacred meals, like Jesus' Last Supper, the chalice is a reminder of the shared cup of our humanity. The flame itself echoes the sacrificial fires of ancient India, along with the eternal flames at tombs and the lights of cathedrals, mosques, and meeting houses. In all of these contexts, the flame symbolizes the nature of the religious search, the witness, sacrifice, testing, courage, and illumination that we experience throughout our journeys. In our second reading, Holding the Light by Stuart Kestenbaum. Gather up whatever is glittering in the gutter, whatever has tumbled in the waves or fallen in flames out of the sky. For it's not only our hearts, are broken, but the heart of the world as well. Stitch it back together. Make a place where the day speaks to the night and the earth speaks to the sky. Whether we created God or God created us, it all comes down to this. In our imperfect world, we are meant to repair and stitch together what beauty there is. Stitch it with compassion and wire. See how everything we have made gathers the light inside itself and overflows. A blessing. Here end the readings. Please rise in spirit or in body for our hymn number 112, Do You Hear? Upstairs in Philippa's place this morning, Megan and our children are having a lesson about symbols and making chalices for the children to bring home with them. I remember a similar lesson from my Sunday school days. The mimeographed symbol sheets included religious and international symbols, the Red Cross, the peace symbol, the cross, the Star of David, the then quite recognizable logo from a now defunct local grocery store chain, and a flaming chalice or two. We were meant to gain an understanding of the concept of symbol rather than one particular symbol. So the lesson wasn't centered on the flaming chalice, and we didn't make chalices. Megan is probably balancing the discussion between symbols in general and the flaming chalice in particular today. The differing emphasis in these similar Sunday school lessons is one indicator of the fact that I, like some of you perhaps, have lived a transformation with regard to the flaming chalice. A chalice is lit now in the sanctuary of our family's church each week and has been for perhaps 20 or 25 years, but there was no chalice there in my childhood or in my college years or for several years even beyond that. In Children's Chapel each week, we took turns lighting tall pillar candles, but there was no chalice there either. But there is one in Philippa's place, and there is one in our teen room. The Flaming Chalice has gone from a little-known symbol on a Sunday school worksheet a generation ago to a centerpiece of worship and faith today. We Unitarian Universalists often reveal ourselves to be a study in contrasts. Rational humanists who turn out for Christmas Eve and Easter Sunday in the highest attendance seen all year at our UU congregations. Fiercely non-creedal, but increasingly claiming and celebrating a single symbol, though, as you see, with many variations. As Lisa Friedman points out, many of us distrust liturgy, often dismissing it as empty ritual, but nevertheless have become attached to lighting and extinguishing faith community chalices. Flirting uneasily and in denial with elitism at time, yet with our words and in our better moments championing the common cause, the common person. Frequently accused of not believing in anything or conversely believing anything we want, we also revere our martyrs who died for their very beliefs. And we even revere some martyrs we can't rightly claim as our own, but whose life-giving, sacrificing belief nevertheless is one that resonates deeply within our liberal hearts. Today's sermon revolves around the intersection of several of these contrasts. First, the facts. The Flaming Chalice as a symbol was created some 80 years ago by an Austrian artist, Hans Doege, at the request of the Reverend Charles Joy. Joy's work with the Unitarian Service Committee, which was the predecessor of the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. The Unitarian Service Committee was an underground rescue operation in service of those needing escape from Nazi persecution. Joy wanted Doege to give the organization's letters and papers a certain something to make them look official, to give dignity and importance to them, and at the same time to symbolize the spirit of our work. Doege's symbol for those important papers, the Flaming Chalice, has in the 8 decades since become embraced by almost all Unitarian Universalism to symbolize the spirit of our work and our faith. The central components of the symbol, the flame and the chalice, as Lisa Friedman wrote, have ancient and varied meanings and associations layered one on top of another. Community, communion, elixir of life, purification, warmth, light, truth, wisdom. We hear all these words spoken when chalices are lit in worship. And each individual who claims the Flaming Chalice is the symbol of their personal faith anoints it, consciously or not, with their own mix of meanings. Throughout my ministry, I've spoken pretty consistently through the years of the oil of healing, the flame of truth, the cup of life. A few minutes ago, you heard Danny read the chalice lighting I wrote after 9/11, with those and a few other meanings in them. Besides all these, the Flaming Chalice also holds a precious and less metaphorical association for me, one that nods to one of those martyrs we love to borrow. Jan Hus was by no means a Unitarian Universalist. Back in the late 14th century, early 15th century, in Bohemia, there were no Unitarian Universalists. Huss was, in fact, a Catholic priest who is today also claimed by the Church of the Brethren. Having entered the priesthood, at least in part to escape poverty, Huss soon distinguished himself as a church reformer and a champion of the common person. Influenced by the works of English reformer John Wycliffe, Huss ran afoul of the established church by preaching against indulgences and other excesses of the power structures of the church. He also held that the communion chalice should be offered to the laity, not solely the priests, as was common at that time. Huss was excommunicated and executed for his reforming ideas. He died at the stake on July 6, 1415. Here we have in the life and death of one person both the chalice and the flame. It is in our national DNA to say to those who would be our masters, "You're not the boss of me." Perhaps you remember then Delaware Senate candidate Christine O'Donnell rousing the Tea Party and values voters with those words back in 2010. It is not eloquent rhetoric, and I'm no fan of O'Donnell's politics, but she was absolutely right, of course, on this point. Our country was founded by people who told the King of England, "You're not the boss of me." The notion that each person is the captain of their own destiny is deeply embedded in our national psyche. Unitarian Universalists, too, are fond of saying, "You're not the boss of me," if not in so many words. We display question authority on bumper stickers and lapel pins, and sing a hymn with the words, "To question is the answer." We claim our own authority in matters of faith and theology. We govern ourselves according to congregational polity, rejecting all forms of ecclesiastical hierarchy. And the presence of the chalice in our worship, our jewelry, our clothing, our publications is, I suppose, yet another way we say, "You're not the boss of me." My faith, we say, represented by this symbol, promises me autonomy of belief and religious practice. But the true message differs slightly and profoundly. When we place the flaming chalice at the center of our faith, we proclaim, "No one shall be denied the cup of life. All shall quench their spirit's thirst at will. All may warm themselves at the fire of this community. The flame of truth burns to light the way for all." Not only is no one the boss of any one of us when it comes to our belief and our practice of faith, but also, and more importantly, no one is the boss of deciding who has access to and welcome in this free faith. More important even than that, we proclaim and defend the right of all to own their beliefs and religious practices, whatever they may be. We proclaim and defend healing, blessing, truth, spirit quenching for everyone. That's why a flaming chalice. This little light of mine, this little light of ours, we're going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Shine in our sanctuary, shine in our homes, shine in our hearts, shine in our words, shine in our actions. Illuminating courage, spotlighting hope, reflecting wisdom, guiding us in the ways of truth and justice and love. Amen. Will you please rise in spirit or in body for our hymn number 118, "This Little Light of Mine." into the highways and byways. Give the people something of your new vision. You may possess a small light, but uncover it. Let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of all. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. Amen.